All right, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today for our poetry session. We have with us today Cherryl T. Cooley. She is a poet, playwright, and fiber artist who has published 2 volumes of poems as Cherryl Floyd Miller, Utterance, A Musology of Kin, and Exquisite Heat. Her art poetry chapbook, Chops, produced in conjunction with Nexus Press in 2004, won an IGA Gold Seed Award, and is permanently housed in the Museum of Modern Art. The chapbook was produced as a part of her dialogue fellowship with the Fulton County Arts Council in Atlanta. Also a recipient of literary fellowships from Caldera Cave Canem and Vermont Studio Center, Idlewild Summer in Poetry, and Indiana Arts Commission. Cheryl's work has appeared in Poetry, Essence Magazine, North Carolina Literary Review, Copper Nickel, Crab Orchard Review, Anthropology and Humanism, and numerous anthologies. Cherryl is the inaugural winner of the Companion Poems Contest, co-sponsored by the Virginia Center for the Book and Poetry Daily. A poem from her unpublished manuscript, Hofer, was selected by the Lincoln Center for Performing Arts to accompany a fall 2017 concerto by Brooklyn, New York-based musical ensemble So Percussion. The 2022 winner of the Joseph Pendleton Campbell Memorial Poetry Award from the Poetry Society of Virginia. Cherryl loves, works, and lives from Woodbridge, Virginia. So thank you for being here with us today, Cherryl.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Okay. Cherryl, I feel like it's Superman's father, Jor-El. Remember, wasn't he Jor-El? Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Jor-El.
bad jokes. Yeah. Okay, I need to call your grandmother after the show, I think, just to figure stuff out. So no, I know. Just one of those days I'm feeling good. The winter weather has arrived. So when you're in Maine and it gets to be, under 40 degrees and chance of snow, everyone kind of, like runs outside crazy. It's amazing. Any other place that'd be like running for Florida, which a lot of people do here, but no, I love it. Love the winter weather. So tell me or share with us, what does inquiry mean for you?
Inquiry means everything. It's everywhere. It's the entire way that I have lived my life as a poet and as a woman. Almost everything I do creatively starts with a question. I never know where that's going to lead me, and I'm okay with that. Curiosity is a really, really good superpower. In my work, I work as a narrative strategist, and I help people figure out how they want to present content. And most of those things also start with inquiry. So it is something that drives almost everything that I do, almost everything. I'm questioning. The trick to it is, though, you have to be able to ask these questions as a part of the way that you live and not let it paralyze you. You have to keep moving as you question.
And do some of those, do you get some repeat questions at times? Do some similar questions come up like, Cherryl, what are you really doing? Doing a voice like
My biggest question as of late, and as of late probably is the last 4 to 5 years, is what you're doing aligned? That has been like the biggest question ever. Is everything that you're doing right now aligned, or something a little bit out of alignment? So I tend to give my attention to the things that are in alignment with who I am, who I believe I am, because that also is ever evolving. What I consider my journey, and what my values are. Those things that I do need to be aligned with that. And when they're out of alignment, I struggle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle. So let me ask you this. No, I'm intrigued by this. So does the questioning or the inquiry, is it like an Alka-Seltzer experience where, I mean, there's sometimes when, before the bubbles go away, you can like process a question? Or is there a question that keeps spinning around your head for weeks at a time? I'm sure it's all sorts of different things. I'm just wondering if you're right, you don't want it to paralyze you. So there's probably something between Alka-Seltzer and, multiple weeks. How does that work
Yeah,
for you?
I don't even know if there's a time. There is one poem which I'm probably going to read today to you today that took me 15 years to write because I could not get out of the way and stop trying to control the answer to the question. So it just depends. It depends on how solvable it is based on my previous experience. It depends sometimes on how willing I am to go deep. Sometimes I'm not willing to go that deep. I'm willing to
Yeah.
like live on the surface, and I'm okay with those answers for now. But the act of diving deep requires you to just stay the course until you arrive at something that is settled for you, which is not always the final answer. We all know that poetry extends and extends and extends
Yeah.
based on who's reading it. It never ends.
So do those questions, hopefully I'm saying this right, do they just kind of arrive in your poems? Or as you're writing, are you thinking, wow, I've got this question in my head. It seems like I should be pushing it down into the paper. I'm just wondering how that happens for you.
Most things start in my heart or my head. And they are questions that don't necessarily get asked directly in the poem. It is just the way that I process and get things out of me. So I am the person who is probably known as the biggest why girl ever. I'm always asking why. And I get that in every arena of my life. Stop asking why, Cheryl, just do it. But I just feel like sometimes if we blindly just do things without asking those questions, even if we're asking them to ourselves and not out loud, it's like you stop growing. You
Yeah.
have to stay curious. You have to keep asking questions
Yeah.
of people and things, and especially things that recur, like why am I here again? Didn't I
Yeah.
solve this
Yeah.
problem for myself last year? But here it is again. So what did I miss the first time, and what do I need to apply this time to make sure that I have at least some concrete answer that can keep me moving?
Yeah. Yeah. So no, then this is a fantastic conversation. So I've got another question. Are there poems that you write that answer questions for yourself?
Absolutely. Poetry is one of the ways that I find out what I think. Otherwise, I might not know. I write poems, I write period, to kind of figure out what I think. There are these answers that you have that, or I'll speak for myself, I won't accuse
Yeah.
anyone else, that are, I won't say they're totally canned, but I'm so accustomed to getting a question on repeat from people that I already know how I want to answer.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you have to pull back and say, is that really still my answer? Has it evolved? Is that really the answer to the question?
Yeah.
And really, really be bold and brave enough to go there. You have to do it.
Yeah. You are, I think, the 2022 example of Rilke's living with the question. No, always a great. I whenever I'm really not going to say troubled, I always think of that. Just live with a question, and then hopefully you can live into the answer.
Mhm.
I always felt that was really powerful.
Absolutely.
So, you have some poems you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think I do have some poems that I can share. I am going to share the poem that I mentioned already. And I won't give any context yet. I will just tell you the title. It's Canary. And this is the poem. This is a little bit of context. This is the poem that took me 15 years to write.
Wow.
Canary. Her yellow sweater drooping on the door. Didn't I wash it yesterday? Didn't I launder out her sweat? Didn't I fold the empty sleeves? Didn't I? The crew neck band of stitches cowering around the doorknob. Isn't it crumpled on the floor, collapsed across a book bag, flung atop the toy chest, draped with Tuesday's jeans over the footboard? The empty sleeves dangling from the arm seam, a loose stitch threatening to unravel a chunk of elbow, fray a strand of forearm. Didn't I mend it once? Hadn't I searched 2 fabric depots and a thrift store for the right tendril of thread? Didn't I pull the matching yellow from ripped seams, from an old raglan smock sleeve? Sweater, hushed and hanging. Where is the lopsided flapping she does to get to me school days in the pickup line? Mommy, what a day. Shouldn't I bring her water? It's bedtime. Let her eat candy corn until she's too full for dinner. Say prayers at 8 o'clock. Turn off her light before I crawl with sweater into her bed. Didn't I wash this yesterday? Didn't I launder out her sweat? Force my own arms into the empty sleeves? Didn't I?
Mm, nice.
This poem, as you may have guessed, is about my daughter
Yeah.
and her being gone a little too long for me, visiting her father. So I had this moment that I was like really crashing and I couldn't write about it for a long time. Okay,
And do you still have the yellow sweater?
I do. She doesn't know that, but I do.
Oh boy. Oh, okay. Perry, get her on the phone right now so we can.
She would think that's funny and say, "Oh, mom."
Yeah, I know. I know. No, listen. It's very touching. It's very, how a piece of clothes can associate and all the attributes you gave to the sweater. I feel like the sweater was going to have legs and run out the door.
Yeah, it really did. It really, that's what I
Oh,
feel like anyway.
no, great. Very good.
Okay, so my next poem is the one that won the Joseph Pendleton Campbell Award this year. It is called Asters Greet as They Pass While Faintly Smiling. It is an unvoiced conversation. We, the mom and I, never show or tell at real family gatherings. Our artful, cool, collected, grinning faces hide what we and I say to ourselves about what we left of our souls at weeknight dinners or school. What brooked in me when first we both knew, my muted voice would lurk on the brim of quiet, choosing to be late for chinwag, instead writing what I should have said in small diaries, strike through feelings, the wit keep straight. I die a million times not speaking. We mask the cycles of scarring, clothe thin wounds beneath rivers of seersucker gin. Her griefs are drunken versions of me. We shriek a blues that imitates the bop in jazz, dress our words for bitter winter in June. I want to ask, but won't, what asters we need to bloom before fall, before we die, and when, and if, and how, or soon.
Very nice. So is there a little story around that you want to share or?
That poem is about conversations that never happen. The ones you always say I'm going to have with my parents, or now that I'm a mother, the ones that I always say I'm going to have with my kids, and we never get around to it. It's difficult for one or both parties. So we move through our lives and pretend that the conversations happen, but they really didn't. And we keep saying soon, 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 soon never gets here. And I always
So
wonder what would happen if I push the button and have those conversations.
So what happens to those issues? Just kind
What
of linger?
um I would say some of them linger, but for me personally, I find ways to work through issues that don't require other people.
Yeah.
So I come to my own solution and I still continue to show up in the relationship and just have a different understanding of who I'm dealing with and what their boundaries are. And I'm able to like still be in relationship with those people. If I carried it all, then I wouldn't. I would be like walking around by myself. But yeah, sometimes you can't resolve uh, a problem between you and someone else, especially if they don't see that there's a problem. So you have to find ways to just accept them where they are, especially if they're related to you. I accept you where you are. I put up ample boundaries to make sure that I can't get hurt, and we continue to be in relationships. So take the good of whatever's there.
Yeah, where I work, I think I'm on the I don't know, sixth or seventh agree to disagree issue with my boss who owns the company. I've been involved in the finance and accounting outsourcing industry longer than her, but yeah, we tend to or yeah, I should compile them in a book. Agreeing to disagree.
Yeah. Well, the thing that really always surfaces for me working in narrative is that everyone is inside of a narrative. And just because you see something a different way or you see a different ending or a different arc doesn't mean the other person is there. So you have to leave space for
Yeah.
other people's narratives as well. But don't let them tank yours.
Yeah. No, interesting. Very, very, very thoughtful. Uh, more poems right now, or should we take a little
Sure.
Q&A?
I'll read one more. Um, one more. It's called Bountiful. And this poem is one that I wrote. There was a group that I used to moderate online called Monkey Bread. And it was a group of young poets who have all now grown up to win awards and write books and all the things. But we were doing exercises from the practice of poetry, that book with a lot of different prompts and exercises. And I think this one was called 21 Little Projects or something like that. And this is the poem that came out. There is a question that drove this poem, so I will see if you can come up with some ideas about what that question was. It's called
Yeah.
Bountiful.
Okay.
How we heap and dip and cup under covers a herd of sleeping spoons, bellies ballooned with the good times. This isn't a year we merely crave the ghost of yam syrup at our noses or gawk at 30-second ads of basted thighs and honeyed breast on a fat clucker. This year, we poke the gluten between elastic cells of yeast rolls, ears arcing for narrative that descends like pine cones from the needles. We burn a few taste buds, waiting for a blade to slice our bird. Whiffs of every morsel in our memories dripping from our famished fingers. Remember Bubba Pugh selling pickled pig's feet and penny candy in Lincoln Heights? We were hungry and so full we brewed a phlegm in the throat and diaphragm. We freaked our familiar, the electric slide, the bankhead bounce, rhythm just the ricochet of chow in the backbone. No looky looky, no getty getty. The canary bow of grace in us makes us each a Saturn and a sun. Grinning stars sink their rodent teeth into us. We stretch our corn husk scalps over the turkey bones and beat the moon. Sweet pea winces at the first blow. She will swallow the chime and thud of next November. Rerun turkey anything and mutual cranberry stew. We are determined to recycle what is missing in us. Embrasse-moi jusqu'à nous fureur. What a gravy can whisper into the hollow of a rib. What design to raise the spoons.
So my first thought was, what's for Thanksgiving dinner? That was my first thought. And then it could just be, what's for Sunday dinner? I don't know. Maybe I'm off course. I don't know. That's what I thought. I was hearing I feel like I was listening to a restaurant rant review or something.
It is and it isn't. The question that drove me in this poem was what keeps bringing us back?
Hmm?
And the time we always come back is Thanksgiving. So it's
Yeah.
it's the memories of the food. It's how we do food around a table, how we commune at that time. What are our traditions? I even threw some dancing in there.
Yeah.
And very specific cultural dancing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's all of it. These are all the things that bring us back.
Nice.
I don't know why, but I thought my first thought was what we missed in Thanksgiving during the pandemic.
Ah,
all,
that could be.
all of those things,
That could be. Remember, poems don't end. So thank
There
you,
you go.
Penny.
So let's Perry, I think you kicked it off. Let's have some comments or questions from you and Kathy, if you have them.
I have one going back to the 15-year poem. I just wanted to know a little bit more about where the problem was for you over that time, and what finally solved that problem, or how you finally solved it.
So we're getting ready to go deep. So everybody buckle up.
Oh boy.
During that time, I was living in Atlanta with my children. And they left to go for the holiday with their father. And I was sitting at home waiting for them to come back so that we could enroll them or get them back into school because they were on break for the holiday. That night they were supposed to come back. I didn't hear anything. A week later, I didn't hear anything. 2 weeks later, I didn't hear anything. So it became this deep source of anxiety and anger and 50,000 other things. And I tend to like suppress initially if I'm being emotional. So I suppressed it all the time. I had to get up and make myself go to work every day and not think about, oh my God, where are my children? And then one day I came home and the house was kind of dark and all I saw was that yellow sweater hanging on the door. And if you're a mother or if you're a parent, period, you never want to feel like you don't know. You never want to feel like my child is not here and I don't know where to start. I don't know where to find them. I don't know what has happened. So, eventually it became a custody battle and a whole nother chapter of poems. But yeah, it was very difficult for 15 years for me to write about that moment because my children's father and I are really good friends now. We're really good friends. We worked through all of that. I consider him my family. And I also didn't want my children to know what level of anxiety I was experiencing in that moment, because I thought it may bring up some things for them. So it was just hard for me to go to the page, find the right language, talk about the right things. Sometimes if you have an object that you focus on in a poem, it becomes so large that you cannot break it down into digestible parts.
Yeah.
And that is what I was struggling with. Ironically, I wrote this poem very fast. After I went to a workshop with Misha Common Taylor, who is in Athens, Georgia at UGA. She invited me to be a featured reader during one of her workshops. And when I got there, I decided I was going to do the exercises with the class. And I sat down and it was like a flash of lightning. This poem just came out of me. Yeah.
Great story. And I understand that sort of flash. And sometimes it happens because there's a certain level of anxiety when you're writing with your students and you can't just quit. You don't want to quit. You want to serve the class and be able to share something at the end of that. And so good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the inquiry, Kathy.
Always happy to do it.
Yeah, we can only have questions today for, no comments, just questions, because we don't want to interrupt the flow of. So how long did it take for your kids to return?
Probably another couple weeks after the couple of weeks. So maybe about a month.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
didn't, I don't know, I guess nowadays someone would have called 911 like on day 4 or something.
Oh, I did.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's the poetry book we haven't read yet, Kathy. No, that's those situations are very challenging. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that with us. Perry, any questions or comments?
Let's see. It was wonderful work, really. I enjoyed it. Oh, I don't know, about writing, I guess. Do you think that your method has changed over the years? Because mine certainly has. Yeah, how you go about writing.
Absolutely. And I think it's there are certain things that are habits, right? There are some people in my wide poet circle who get up at the same time every day.
Right.
And they have
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
they have rituals. And I used to be that person. Every year during National Novel Writing Month, I would be writing poems. One year I actually did write a novel as well. And it was very easy for me to crank out the words because I had that ritual in place. I went through a period of questioning how I wanted to show up as a poet. The landscape was starting to feel, and I hope I'm not like really ticking anyone off with this, starting to feel very, all the voices were the same. All the MSA program voices were the same. And I was just feeling like, oh, I don't want to do this in this way. I don't feel I have a choice about doing it because I feel I'm called to do it. However, I did not want to write poetry for the sake of just getting published anymore. That was, the break from my rituals. So I started this process of really questioning, speaking of inquiry, John, how I wanted to show up, who I wanted to be as a poet, and the things that really mattered to me. And one of the biggest things to come out of that period was understanding that I didn't want to write poetry just for books. I think that poems have lives beyond books. I think that we should try to stand them up and let them live those lives. Heck, go get jobs if they want. And I wanted to be somebody who could see something other than the physical stanzas and line breaks as a poem. People are poems. I get great joy in people watching. Sometimes I go to a coffee shop just to do that. Because a person, the way they live, their intonations, how they show up in the room, their laughter, what they decide to eat, the conversations they're having, the clothes they're wearing, the sound of their heels on the floor when they walk. It's all the same feeling and the same experience that I get from poems. So people can be poems. Moments can be poems. They're everywhere. And I don't want to confine my poems to only books. So I look for other ways to do them. I have quilts. My screen is blurred, but there's a piece of fiber art behind me that I've been working on for a while. And it has an excerpt from one of my poems in it. I want to see poetry do that so it can meet people where they are. There's a very select group of people or community of people internationally who read poetry books, who go buy poetry books and put them on the shelves. But most people are looking for the moment that they can actually live in the poem and feel it while it's happening. And we do that often through poetry readings, but there are many other ways to do it. Like, Perry, what would you do if you showed up at a restaurant and there's a poem on your napkin? What's happening?
No. It's
I
not.
think I'd go. I think I'd keep going to that restaurant a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Looking around, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh
Interesting.
man. Kathy, any more comments or questions right now?
Well, just piggybacking on that question, I guess. I really like the way you talked about all of that, but how did that shift in seeing poems everywhere affect the poems that you're writing? Like what difference did it make in the actual process when, you know, some kind of an idea came into your head? Does it change the way you go about it?
It absolutely does. One of the things I like to play with is just matching things that don't match. And I think I said this in a previous reading that you were in, that I like taking highbrow forms and adding either lowbrow topics or lowbrow language to those poems. It changed what I knew was possible for poetry. I have never, ever, ever, ever considered myself a formalist. Not ever.
Yeah.
But I took a course one time with Michael Harper, who was my mentor. And he said to me at the end of that course, he said, sooner or later, you're going to admit that you're a formalist. No. And I was like, no, that is not something I do at all. He said, I think if you look at your work a little more carefully, you're doing it. There are forms everywhere. So he has since passed away. And as I go back and look at my work, he's right.
Oh boy.
There are a lot, I write a lot of times in some type of form. Even the poem I just read about Astor's, the conversation with a mom in the poem. I'm not going to say it's my mom.
Yeah.
Even that poem is a form that was lifted by Terrence Hayes based on Gwendolyn Brooks. So every endpoint in the line is a word from her poem, We Real Cool.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's the musicality plays a big part of that. So I've just shifted how I write the poems. Sometimes, you know, it used to be if I'm writing, I'm sitting at a desk, I am visibly typing or writing longhand on paper. And now I could be writing a poem while I'm cooking.
Mm.
It changes how I do process, and it changes always what the outcome is. I am working on a speech right now that is probably scaring me to pieces to deliver in front of a big audience on December 8th. But the way I did it was I sat down and I just poured it out. And then I went back through the same way I do poetry. What stands out as necessary and what is the fluff? And how can I shape the necessary into a very, very strong message? So it's just, I'm just really completely open about what poetry is in 2022. And it's a lot different than when I started. It's a lot different than what I thought I had to do to be called a poet.
Well, just a follow-up comment is that the golden shovel, which is the form of your poem, is a really interesting one because, you know, when you performed your poem or read your poem, we're not seeing those end words, and so we have no idea that it's a golden shovel. But as soon as you see it visually, especially if you're familiar with the Terrence Hayes poem originally, and that he started it with the golden shovel with Gwendolyn Brooks' poem, then it's very obvious. I just had my students writing golden shovels.
Oh, great, great.
But not necessarily for Gwendolyn Brooks. They could pick any line from any poem that they wanted, and they really liked that form.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then too, it does the work that I think poetry should do. Like those who know what I'm doing will be pleased to see the form, and those who have no idea will just love the poem.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So Cherryl, let me ask you this. It sounds like, well, I maybe ask it this way. Was there a triggering event that made you kind of switch from, the sitting at the desk to writing poems by the cooking pot? Was there one thing, or is it just gradually over time you found yourself migrating to a different modality?
You all ask such tough questions.
No, I don't know. You sent me the questions. I'm just asking. No, you're kidding.
So there was another life event because, okay, so let me preface this by saying what I always used to do, because some poets go through these phases where you don't get the support that you're expecting from people who know what you do. And it can be crippling if you allow it. But the way that I handled that was I compartmentalized my life. When I'm at work and I'm not a poet. When I'm with my family, I'm Cherryl and I'm not a poet. When I'm with poets, I'm a poet.
Yeah.
Now I have shifted since the triggering incident, which was in 2008, I got sick. And I wasn't sure how it was gonna work out. I was very afraid. I wasn't telling anybody I was sick. I was just sick. And I was going to a doctor getting treatments. And then I just kept saying to myself as I was trying to initially share that journey with a lot of people, I pulled back. I kept thinking about Audre Lorde and the cancer journals, and thinking about the entire idea of just exposing all of it. It takes such courage. It takes such perseverance to share your journey in that way. So I started it and I was like, nope, I don't want to do it. I don't think I should share everything that's going on with everybody. But it also made me go to a place where I just really kept asking myself the question about who I wanted to be as a poet. Is this who you want to be? People are sending out calls for submissions and you're writing poems for the calls. No, that's not who I want to be. I want to be creating continuously on a journey with things that are already in my view. I don't want to write in that way. Now, if someone commissions something and says it's a special occasion, then yes, but I just saw a lot of people around me writing in that way and I didn't want to do it. So it kind of shifted. If you are saying that you no longer want to do that, and that's what people know poetry to be right now, what else are you saying?
Yeah.
I am saying I don't have to do poetry this way. I can write it any kind of way I want. It can show up in different ways. It doesn't have to be like the traditional verse. So yeah, that was the triggering incident. Just having to reevaluate your life and really dig in your heels on what's important to you makes you do things a little differently.
Great. No, thanks for sharing. It's just, yeah, I'll be careful with my next question. I think that's what I'm hearing right now. Yeah, I've used all my ammunition, Perry. I don't have any more. I don't have any, what do you call it, my chances? I've used my 3 lotto cards. So do you have a few more poems you'd like to read for us?
Yes, I do. I think the first one I'm going to read is not mine.
That's fine.
It is someone I deeply admire as a poet, and because of all the things she's written about experiences that are specific to women. This one reminded me so much of so many things I wanted to say but couldn't. And I do think it either started as a question. Well, it says it in the title that it was a question, but I feel like it's being driven by questions as well. This is by Beth Ann Finley, and it's called Because People Ask What My Daughter Will Think of My Poems When She's 16.
Oh boy.
And I do have a poem like that as well.
Okay.
Daughter, the light of the future is apricot, and in it you are not the thigh child pointing her earnest index finger to the yellow balloon clearing the willows and drifting higher. You're the balloon. I'm the grasping hand. Or I'm the ooh in balloon. I'll meet you there. I'm the brown strings formerly violets you didn't water. I'm the hole in the photo. You're the unsafety scissors. I'm the lint in the corners of my purse after you steal the coins. Brown bag lunch you pitch after leaving my house. Buttons you undo after I've okayed your blouse. Poems you burn in the sink. Poems that had to go and use your name. Never mind that soon you'll be 16. Hate your name. I'm the resemblance of you. I'm the resemblance you deny. Fat ass you hope your boyfriends never see. I'll meet you there. That is my promise and my threat, with this yellow balloon as my witness. Even if I'm dead, I'll meet you there.
Wow. Woo.
Layers, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I like the poems burning in the sink. I'm liking Perry, that'll be season 4. Poems we should have burned in the sink before publishing. I'm like, Cheryl, I'm liking this. I'm coming up with all sorts of new ideas today.
Are they new?
No, they're not. I've been answering the same question. What poem should I burn in the sink? Where's my sink?
Poems have a way of coming back though, John.
They do it. It's all circular.
Even
Life
if
is circular. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll read these next couple of poems. These are from the Hoofer manuscript, and they are about the tap legend Gregory Hines. First one that's kind of sad, and then one that's kind of joyful. This one is called Sesquipedalian. Bile, bitter green, woozy terracotta liver, unnoticed like the spleen, the things I need inside me but often ignore, not like a daily anus or thudding heart or even the sacroiliac. Cholangiocarcinoma, the spiel from the hazy man emitting death in this white room, hepatoma, nausea, focus, a clear view of his stethoscope becomes my denial. Its bright silver petal is buoying in my eye puddles. Exotic nomenclature peels back to moments the year of my first gig as a circuit pickaninny. Me, lean, chesty, 5-year-old in buck and wing regalia. A fledgling pulse would knock in my ankle at the sound of rickety pianos. Those fresh, unpaid feet cranked to boogie even when my boy body did not know to leap. Impress me, Doc. Say my heels and toes will still be able to move tap diesel. Allay this dread. Tell me I can do snatchback or spank in capizios, suede. Mouth this, bioluminescence. Say I can still be body and light. Ease me into the simple, natural cause of tired feet or old age adieu. I come back into this body, hear his mouth still pulsing a dead issue, metastatic, intrapulmonary, pneumogastric. He's deep into his short-term, long terminology. Where in this room is the ideal sound of immortality? The soft, irrefrangible swish of alive. Deal me a fit word like survive, cure, copacetic, please. I want what the tongue can deliver without meaning disease.
Very nice.
Of course, that is Gregory Hines' my imagined moment when he discovered he had cancer.
Yeah.
And this next poem is one that I in this manuscript, I use a lot of sound techniques so that you can actually hear him tapping, because I wanted it to be a soundscape. And I think that's all I'll tell you, soundscape and language. This is called percussion. Paterdemalion bone scat, waist bend on the downbeat, feet, a shin on a swipe breeze, toes, the axis of hoof speed. Tap is this and tap is that. Sweet muskmelon on monkfish. hoe cake as lady finger souse, puke fresh flesh from low country vine, bone suck, yard bird, white rhyme. Hungry, I whirl on a wish, conga and clog is my side dish. Full giddy shuck shuck on down pat, sweet grass and cocklebur dew, neck iron, red boa, shadow blue. Tapis poke with, tapis pluck at, soak slick bubble up bath mat. Rope thick huckabuck laughed at, cocked straw, brim felt, top hat, lock jaw, him yelp, combat. Yeah, tapis this, tapis that, poke with, pluck at.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice.
Did you hear him tapping?
I heard a lot. Well, I heard a lot of moves in there.
Cheryl, I
When,
heard him tapping and my feet were tapping with him.
Yeah.
I'm a tap dancer. I tap every Tuesday.
Great. I don't think I knew that about you, Kathy. So you understand.
Yeah, when we lived in Stockbridge for Mass for 6 years, we would go to Jacob's Pillow every year, and I always wanted to see a tap ensemble because the tap was, it's just so expressive.
Mhm.
The moves, the sound, it was, I call it blow away good. I mean, it was, for an hour and a half or whatever, just an amazing, it's like the feet are talking instead of the mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah, very powerful. So more stuff on you would like to read?
One more. And this one is the example I gave of highbrow form. It's a sonnet, and lowbrow language. I come from North Carolina, where people don't always enunciate everything that is standard American English. And the funny thing is the very first time I took my husband home, and I was like gonna leave and go to the store. He begged me not to go. He's like, please don't leave me. I need you to translate. I don't understand what they're saying. So I had to like really tell him what was being said. And it is English, but where I come from, the people who look like me talk very fast. It is Carolina. There is a drawl there, but we speak very, very quickly. Like, go to the kitchen and get me a glass of water. That is what my mother would say to my brother. And he was like, what did she just say? She asked my brother to go get her some water.
Yeah.
He didn't understand it. And the people who don't necessarily look like me speak with a very drawn out drawl, very slow, very melodic syllables. So this poem is somewhat of a tribute to that, but this is about people who I say play voodoo chicken, like they're kind of in a relationship, but not really. If the other person decides they're going to go date somebody else, they want to pull them back because they promised that we're going to get this thing going. But then when the other person comes back, not really. So this is that. It's called Voodoo Chicken. Gots me hanker, gots me squall, peeping tall Tom at your lovely in your throat, and the itch, hellcat itch of it, rides me like a witch into the nights, those crafty nights no calm will come. You just a mule teeth puppet show, stop and go, chicken hearted to the core. You say don't cross the line or crack the door. How sweet meat, milk, how navy black, how crow. But love has stayed and love is made, is all, is with, for. We almost did, just about, said we know how, wouldn't, nuh-uh, fall. This moot jinx so far in, it's inside out. We say we won't, but reckon do. Yak, stall for if, wait for good, gut in, ass out. And I'll end with that one.
Nice, very nice. Kathy or Perry, Kathy, you probably have some tap questions. We always say, Cheryl, that don't let the poet off the hook. Don't let her, don't let him walk away. Yeah, no, I always encourage. No one just kind of jumps out, but I try to encourage, some chaos from the audience. Kathy, any questions, or Perry, comments?
Oh, I don't know, some of the poets that, you read a lot, or is that possible to answer? I know somebody yesterday asked me, what do you read? And I said, well, when I'm stuck, I admit I go back to Frost and Yeats and probably all the formalists, the ones that are writing in some kind of form. That gets me unstuck. I don't write like that usually, but
Mhm.
is there certain people that you always go back to, let's say?
Well, yeah. Anything Lucille Clifton, because she
Yeah.
had such clarity.
Well, she's from here, right? She's
Maryland, I thought. Yeah.
well, she grew up in Buffalo.
Okay. Yes, you're
I mean,
right.
when she was a kid, and then because I saw her here, but then she moved very young, I think.
Yeah. So Lucille Clifton, the poet I,
Mm.
Sarah Bareilles, who is a songwriter, an amazing songwriter. I always read her lyrics and listen to her songs. While that is, yeah, while if I ever get stuck, because I don't really believe in writer's block. I think that you can be writing without the act of putting your hands on the keyboard. I can be doing something else and writing.
Yeah.
I really, really go back and read haiku. Absolutely. And I really keep reading this book, which is it's a book long question, but it always like brings up different things for me. And it's Sonia Sanchez's Does Your House Have Lions? The entire book is a whole question. So it always makes me think about all of those things. And there's probably lots more.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. Oh, and how could I forget Toni Morrison? How could I forget?
Mhm.
She is one of the most powerful poets writing in long form.
Great. Kathy, anything before
Yeah,
we
I
close
have
out?
a tap question since you brought that up. So, first of all, do you tap?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I wondered because like, I'd have to hear it, multiple times, but like you had that blend of sameness in the percussion and then the variations, like the variation that a time step brings or something to something that is more repetitive. And I really, I could feel that in the poem. So I just wondered how you managed the rhythm changes. Did you listen to him tapping? Did you listen to music that is tap connected or what?
Yeah, there was a parting of what is authentic to Gregory Hines, because if you listen to him tap, there is no real rhythm like that. His tapping is more athleticism and him accomplishing things that other people are like, what? How
Right.
far did you leave to do that?
Yeah.
So it wasn't the tradition of how Gregory Hines shows up on a stage. But what I felt was I needed to convey that it was tapping to the reader.
Mhm.
I needed to have, like, in my job, I design user experiences. So I needed to design a user experience that would make people automatically, if you don't get to tapping, you'll get to the rhythm.
Right.
You'll hear it when it's being read. So yeah, so it didn't stay true to who he is as a tap dancer, but it does convey like the entire gist of tapping.
That makes sense because I don't really tap like Gregory Hines. I'm in a Broadway tap class, so it's much different. It's up more than down, and it's more of a collaborative, effort with a group. So
Mhm.
anyway, but fascinating anyway.
Thank
No.
you.
No, very nice. Very nice. All right. Cherryl, Jor-El's distant cousin. Yeah, the planet Krypton blew up. I don't know. Somehow you escaped in a capsule and ended up in North Carolina. I don't know. That's another. You'll have to come back to tell us that whole story. You're probably like 300 years old or something, and just
I'll receive that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, keep that secret because you could sell the Jor-El serum for, oh God. No, thank you very much for we had a medical incident with one of our poets who couldn't be here this week, and Andrea Dribbin suggested Cherryl, and she jumped into the fray. So I appreciate her. I did have a little warning this morning just to what was going to happen. You know, if Perry's on the call, stay away from. No, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. No, no.
Jeez.
Just to kind of tee up the conversation stuff, and it's been brilliant. Really, it's there's so much in the conversation and the poems. That's what I really like. So thank you for living the question.
Thank you, John. This was lovely.
And
Now I
so-
have to write more poems about this.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
It was a
Don't be a
great
formalist.
hour.
Don't be a formalist, or we're going to have to come down to North Carolina and.
But
You
see,
know.
that's the magic. The formalism is there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
You just don't
yeah.
know.
Formalism is like it's like breathing or something. You can't evade it. You can't. It's everywhere.
And
Oh,
and for
man.
me too, just as a last note, the formalism in my voice really is my father. My
Yeah.
father is a gospel singer, and it all
Yeah.
I learned rhythm. I learned the things that are in the tap messages from being around him, plucking that guitar and singing.
Yeah.
It is in my bones,
Yeah.
literally.
Great. Fantastic. Well, listen, very good. Very good. Thank you again. When I get the recording, I'll send that to you. And no, thanks for reading for us today. It was
Thank
absolutely
you.
fabulous.
Thanks. It was a great hour. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you,
John,
Kathy.
did you say that there wasn't one next week? I thought I
No,
remember you saying.
there is one. There is one next week.
There is, okay.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, I'm going to send a list out. Yeah, we're kind
Well,
of
now I
booked
might
through.
not come because you made fun of me, so I'm not gonna come
No,
now.
no. Perry, you're here. You're the
Forget it.
reality. Perry, you're the poet reality check. I'm just
Wow,
guy.
that's a little scary. I don't think
Yeah, I
I
know.
like
Well,
that too much.
I'm the guy trying to cause trouble. You know,
I
you're the
think
one who's
by then,
gonna
though, by
you gotta
then
bring
we're
it
gonna
back
be
down to earth. Yeah.
by then we're gonna be so covered in snow here, I won't be able
Yeah,
to go
yeah, that's
anywhere.
it.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
'cause
That's
it's
true.
coming soon. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, we have to sign off because we only have the hour. So
Thank you so much.
thank you, everyone. And
Thank
we'll see
you.
everyone soon. Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.